Okay, so my first Tue Iron attempt didn't quite work. There's just too much heat for the air to cool down. So going back to the water-cooled way of doing things. So I invented this little device here. So this is your air intake. The air goes through here, comes out here. But you've also got the water that cools and goes around, circulates this part and comes back out again. We're going to link this. I'm going to call this the Super Tue Iron. Just because it is. It's stainless steel, so it gives it the best corrosion resistance. When it's in that fire, it's all the sulfur and all the everything. Although it's being cooled, it's still going to get corroded. So stainless steel gives it the best option. But saying that, you know, my 8mm plate that I've got in my forge has lasted quite a long time anyways. But this I'm hoping will last a lot longer. So instead of 10 years, give it 30 years. So on the barbecue, there's some holes just here, at conveniently just the right height and the right spacing. So when I put my water holes, I'm going to be using those two. Now to widen these holes, or to drill these holes, I'm actually going to use a step down drill. These are brilliant for sheet metal, and you can go slightly into the next step to take the bird edges off, which is perfect. Okay, so now that's in position, I've now got a nice place where I can drill the next big hole. So it'll all come out here, and then I'll probably cut these off the sides. And to finish the hole, I'm going to use this, which is like a core drill for metal. And that'll go through there and drill the rest out, but it's actually just small for what I need it to, so I'm going to finish it off using a die grinder. So I'm going to use the die grinder for this bit, and if you're interested, the main tool I use are these. They're like carbide burr cutters, and I always use this taper one. Very handy, very useful, and fully recommend it. About there, so the fire itself will be in the centre. This is obviously just off centre, otherwise the fire would be over here if this was in the centre. So all I'd need to do is put some sort of regulator on here, probably going to be a ball valve, and I can just link on my air, and I've got my two water pipes coming out. Now, so you're probably thinking, well, what am I going to use to circulate the water around with? Now, I could just use gravity and a tank, which I've used on my other forge, which I'll show you in a second. But for this, I'm actually going to use one of these. It's like a small hot water pump, and it's only 12 volt, which is perfect. So this will go at the bottom of my tank. My tank I can just pick up. It doesn't need to be up high, it can be on the floor. And this will actually circulate water around it at a very good rate. Okay, so in the end I retrofitted the ball valve down to off using just a short piece of this pipe, and it's quite sturdy actually, you know, I can do that and it doesn't really affect it too much. And then in the end of this pipe I cut off just a little bit of the steel to fit into this pipe, so when I fit it into the fan, as you can see, this is material, an airtight one, which is good, but when I jubilee clip that, it's not going to close it off, it's going to just wrap around that pipe, if that makes sense. As you can see, my fan coupler is designed to be at a right angle, which isn't ideal for this because I want it to just be direct. So I might have to get another one of these made, but it'll work just fine. Push down like that, it's nice if it cones nice, get a better airflow then. But this will work to test the principle. I think that's working beautifully. Works so far. So now it's time for the water cooling part. Now, you've seen that I've got this hot water pump. I've actually bought a tank connector, 2 tank connectors, and a brass socket as well. That fits nicely onto this. And to link the pipes, I've got some 15mm copper pipe that I'll use to couple these together. But as my water tank, I'm going very cheap, and I've got a scrap priming thinners painters can, bit of metal. I don't recommend you use these unless you know exactly how to clean one out properly. This one I know is completely dry, but even a slightest residue can be explosive, so I do not recommend you use one of these. But as an example of using a tank, this is what I'm going to use. Okay, so we're approaching the moment of truth. Is it all watertight? So we'll fill this up with water, and then we'll stick the pump on and see if it's flowing. Okay, so I've decided to take the barbecue forge home with me, but what I could do with is a little anvil, and I just found these offcuts of metal. I haven't actually had to cut anything to size. These are all the sizes that they're meant to be, and an anvil should be to your knuckle height. So to get the right posture and the right swing, that's about the right size. So it's worked out perfectly. So I'll take this home with me. I've only tacked it together because I'll probably want to use the steel for something else later. So this will be temporarily together, and will probably remain that way for the next 10 years. But we'll see. G'day mateys, it's Joshua the Lisle, designer blacksmith here. Probably wondering why have I got a silly hat on. Well, if you haven't noticed, I've got a ginger beard, which means I burn easily, and I've got a ball pitch right there. And it's a lovely sunny day, and we're going to use our barbecue forge. Moment of truth time. What do you think, Ayla? My daughter. Not yet, not fired up yet, I'm just putting it together. Yeah, let's have a barbecue. Right, I'm going to plug it in now.
I'm hungry.
You're hungry now, are you? Well, let's get Daddy doing this quickly then. Okay, so here's one last look at the Super Tue before I cover this in. This is all going to get covered in sand now, and I'm going to build the hearth of my fire. Woo! And this is all working beautifully. You can see in there. Lovely. Right, some health and safety I probably should say. Don't do this at home. Don't do anything what I've just done. I'm a trained professional. Yes. Don't use flammable liquids cans because there probably is residue of paint thinners and they are very deadly if they ignite. I know for sure that that one is empty, so I can do it. So let's have a look at and see how deep this is, just for referencing point. So I've got approximately 150mm to the centre of my Tue iron, and it is, if I look at the side, maybe 250mm deep, which is perfect. Just exactly what I need it to do. Right, let's fill it up with sand and get this thing going. First impressions are the frame is taking. A little bit wobbly with the weight on it. I've got excess sand in here. Those little dimples are part that the fire grate meets on. I'm going to build it up to that level. So I'm just going to get those exposed and then clear it. That is approximately 45 kilograms of sand. So I think I bought 4 20-kilogram bags, and this is roughly just under 2 of them. Right, so now I'm going to dig into the centre where my Tue iron is. And it only needs to be about the size of my fist at the bottom, just tapering out nicely. Found the hole of my Tue, and I'm going to dig past that at least 50mm. See what I did there? Put my fist in. Is it a fist size? Yes. Now I'm just going to taper the edges, make it just a slight cone, and it'll form its own cone over time. This is just regular builder's sand. Done. Now we're ready to get that fire started. Let's have a little look. Hello, Mr. Bug. I want to get out of there quite quickly. So you can see where my Tue iron is. So if I turn the fan on, this little switch just here. Whoa! The barbecues and open fires, so must be good. That's on full power now. Whoa! That was burning. That's actually burnt already. I think it's because I'm outside in the sun, so you've got to be careful. You've got to the sun's disappeared now, isn't it? Chop the burnt bit off. So now I'll make a penny end, I think. See the welds? It has really penetrated into there nicely, but this is carbon steel. Icon. This is. Really make these strong. Okay, so it's been going a few hours now, or a couple of hours, and so let's see how it's doing. So the actual body itself is it's hot, but you can just about touch it, So after a couple of hours, that's doing alright. And I expect if this was actually being used as a barbecue, you definitely wouldn't be able to touch that, because that would be practically touching all the coals. The actual water itself, now all of this is surprisingly hardly heated up at all. It's warm. You know, you'd feel cold if you had a bath in it. So it's only just warm. The one thing that did heat up that surprised me is the actual motor on this hot water pump here. So that there is actually warmed up quite a lot. Now I don't know if that's because I've laid it on its side and it shouldn't, and the motor's under a lot of strain or something. It shouldn't be, it should be absolutely fine, but that's actually quite warm, that. So the actual outlet, now after a couple of hours of doing some forging, you know, like doing a show or something, that's not even hot there, that's relatively really cool. This is quite warm. So let's do a let's try and see if there's any clinker in that and get it out. If I turn this down, let's see if we can remove the clinker, if there is one. Yeah, there's definitely a clinker there somewhere. Ooh, I think it's going to be a big one. It always is when there's sand, because it turns to glass. Woo! Most of that is just sand actually. So after a period of time that'll all turn to ash. So that's a lovely formed clinker. It's a beautiful shape, nice and clean. This is what I was expecting though. But the good thing about this clinker is, gosh, it's hot. It's got the hole straight through it, which means you can still be using it as a forge. About a decent poker. That's a good. That's how a clinker should look like. Let's whack this up again. Put this on the. That's what this is for. Put it in here. There you go. Save it for later. So I'm just going to have a little mooch around in here to see how the pipe's doing. Close look in there. So that stainless steel Tue iron, I don't know if you can see it. But that is still shiny, that's still silver. That means it hasn't had any heat damage whatsoever. I was expecting that to get at least, you know, for it to discolour a little bit, but not even a little bit. That's absolutely fine. So I could actually keep that fire going. Whack the air up, push some of those hot coals back in. That is a super clean fire now. Ready for doing your next lot of fire welding. See, look, that's basically back to normal now. If I'll just heat this up again now. Here we go, I've just discovered something quite awesome about this. So you've got these air holes in the lid, as you can see. I'll just try to break up some of the sand off the clinker. Because I don't want to waste all this sand really. But I guess I could use it as like a sieve. So, as long as it's not too hot, I can... Yeah, all the clinker parts stay in the lid. sand goes back into the forge. Brush out to the sides. Should have cleared a little space really, and then so I didn't lose all of that coke underneath it. Really pleased with how it's performed, and I certainly look forward to making more stuff with it and taking it to places, because it's so transportable, it's lightweight, it's brilliant. So I'm going to leave the pump going for a little while, let it cool down, then I'll put the lid back on, wheel it somewhere where I know it's not going to catch on fire. There we are, take care and happy forging a life worth living. See you next time.